Hello, welcome, I'm Hannah, and today we're going to be talking all about Devinah's brand new palette, which is the Phantasia palette. This launched as their doorbuster for the Black Friday sale. It went live the day before Thanksgiving. I ordered it right when the sale started. I'm so excited to have it in my hands. This palette in person looks so gorgeous, and I haven't touched it at all. I can't wait to dive into these shimmers. As soon as I saw the color story, I was excited by it. If you know me, you know I love my pinks and my purples and my neutrals, and this palette looks like everything that I would want a Devinah palette to look like. I also love that it's the same dimensions as the Mystic Cove palette, which I already have, so they just like stack so nicely and neatly, and that's important to me. I should mention I have received PR from Devinah in the past. I have very fond feelings about them, but I've been purchasing from Devinah for many years, and I purchased this palette myself. I'm going to show you how the palette performs, tell you honestly how I feel about it, and I won't let my positive opinion of the brand get in the way from, like, you know, the truth about this palette, if there is a truth to be told. Also, I do have a non-affiliated code with Devinah. It's just Hannah. I'm not exactly sure yet if the palette's going to be eligible, but I'd say if you're checking out, if my video helps you, try it out and see if it works for anything in your cart. I don't make any money from you using it, but it does show the brand that I make content that's helpful for you in making your decisions. But yeah, we have a couple courses of action to go on today. I'm going to eye swatch all of the shimmers in the palette. I'll give you arm swatches of all the colors. I'm going to create this look with you, talk about all of my feelings about the palette, and see if there's any other comparable shades that you might be curious about that I have. So without further ado, let's just get into all of that. I look tired. I am tired. Hopefully I'll wake up and my eyes will wake up during the course of this video. I'm trying to decide which order I want to go in for the shimmers, because usually I will leave on the look of the last shimmer when it's an odd number. But I don't know if this, like, kind of iridescent looking one is the one that I'm going to want to finish on. You know, I am just going to go in the order that makes sense, and I will finish on this, and either I'll want to make a look around it, or I'll layer on top of it. It will be fine. So I'm going to reference Devinah's Instagram page for the shade names. The shade names are printed on the back, which is awesome. That's like what I want of a palette. That's what I want of a magnetic removable palette, because these can really operate in my collection as singles if I want, and there's no shade names printed on the palette, so if you wanted to use this for flat lays or something, there's nothing stopping you. But for the purposes of today, I will be looking at the Instagram, so I don't have to keep taking them out for the shade names. So this first one, this purple up here, I love the color of this. It's so pretty. It's called Storm Rider, and it says on their Instagram, it's the majestic unicorn of Phantasia. It possesses a coat of shimmering purple adorned with ethereal, lightning-like sparks of orange gold. I'm really excited. They haven't made any claims about the formula. I'm assuming from the look of them that these are going to be most like their $8 formulas. They're like duochrome formulas, but I have found that a lot of Devinah duochromes do like multi-chromatic things, and my love for like the $8 duochromes that they have is interchangeable with my love for their $18 multichromes. So let's see. Yeah, this picks up really nicely. It kind of reminds me of Cleona Noble off the bat. I'm gonna have to compare that at the end. But like, this is what I want in a shadow texture. It doesn't feel flaky, but I feel it texturally coming up onto my finger. All right, let's see. Ooh. So smooth. Like, not smooth in a thin way, but it just like glides so easily. Oh, that's so pretty. I always say I love shadows that teeter the line between pink and purple, and I think this one definitely leans more purple, but I think it does fall into that category. We can see that there was some fallout on my face, so it's possible I'll have to go in a little bit more gently next time, or I tend to do my eyes before my face anyway in case this sort of thing happens. This doesn't look like catastrophic fallout, but it is the kind of fallout that would discourage me from possibly using it on my lower lash line if this happens on like a pencil brush too. But back to the color, that is so pretty. It's historically difficult to see the shifts in this kind of direct lighting, but the fact that we're seeing that brightness to it, that like rose gold, I would say, right? That gives me a lot of hope for how it's going to look at other lights. I will do a little search after I have another eye swatch on also and see if I could see any shifts when I'm kind of like moving around in natural light. But even if it just looks like this, like that looks shimmery, beautiful color, beautiful presence. The next shadow is called Fire Gaze. This one's described as the enchanting unicorn of Phantasia. It boasts a resplendent coat blending vibrant hues of pink and orange. My first thought was it kind of reminded me of something like Sweet Slush, but I think this is just a little bit deeper in color, a bit more coral, but we will compare those at the end. Let's see. Yeah, it feels really similar to the first one. Pretty. Yeah, I love that color. I love a light pink, but sometimes they can look like a little frosty on my eye. And I like that this one's just like a touch deeper. Yeah. I don't know if I have any other colors like this. Maybe, is it Bahama Mama from Luxie? I think that might be kind of a similar color. Or even Electra from their Mystic Cove collection. I'm curious about that one also. This looks so nice, and I'm seeing that like yellowy, almost green in there. Kind of orange, definitely orange. Yeah, wow. That is shifty. If I can see it here, it's shifty. This one, I really didn't have much fallout, but there is a little bit of sparkle that ended up under my eye. But this is the kind of thing I would probably even like pay no mind to. There's always sparkle in my face somehow. I put sparkle right here, so if there's sparkle a centimeter out that way from where it's supposed to be, or a centimeter out this way from where it's supposed to be, like, I can handle that level of sparkle. Let me see how these look in different lighting. Okay, the next shade is the one in the center of the palette. It's called Starborn, and I'm really curious about this because it looks in the pan similar to Half Sea Fog. Deandra, in one of her lives introducing this palette, mentioned it being similar to Half Sea Fog. And the thing that I'm wondering about the most is, like, I really love Half Sea Fog, but it's not the most sparkly shadow. Like, it's like a cool, interesting shadow, but it's not like a high reflect type of shadow. I would love if this was like that, but like amped up. But I'm also wondering if there's something about this specific type of pigment that makes it less sparkly, so this will be kind of similar. Those are all my questions. It's described as the majestic unicorn of Phantasia, boasts a radiant coat adorned in hues of green, pink, and gold. I think this might be more sparkly. It has that same texture as the first two. It might even be like a little bit more textured. I think maybe you could see how it comes up in the pan. You know? I hope that helps. I feel like my biggest question about eyeshadow is always like what it feels like, because that's so important to me. Oh yeah. Okay, we will definitely compare it to Half Sea Fog later, but I think this one's a little bit lighter, a little bit more like mint, but that pink flip is so apparent, and it's definitely more shiny. It has like a really cool tone sparkle to it. Ooh, I like this. I wonder if also, because the tones are so similar, if this would work as like a topper for Half Sea Fog. Like if you could do Half Sea Fog over the whole eye, and then this in the center for like a little bit of pop, but it keeps the same duochrome going. That would be really cool. I'm really excited about this. It also kind of reminds me of Emblem from Cleona, which I also love. So we'll compare that one too. Next up is Ember Rain, and this I'm so excited about. This looks like such a perfect, interesting neutral. I already know that Devinah does interesting neutrals really well. She described this in one of her lives as being like a third cousin to Mystic Moon Pie, and I love Mystic Moon Pie, so I'm really curious to see what she means by that. It's described as a handsome unicorn of Phantasia, adorned with a coat in vibrant hues of coral, blue, and pink. This one feels pretty similar when I pick it up, but I do see like little fragments of pigment on my finger, but that's okay with me. And that color looks so good. Oh wow. Oh wow. I love this. I've definitely been in my interesting neutral era recently. I feel like this is going to be like a favorite. The thing I love about this shade and shades like this is that it feels very versatile. Like it feels like I could pop this on my lid, just like this, like with a little bit of a transition color. And it gives the effect of a neutral, like from a distance, but it's still like just more fun than a neutral. It kind of reminds me of the effect of some of the Sea of Shadows shades that I really like, that it has like a base, and then it has a contrasting shimmer on top of that, but then the shimmer shifts warm. I'd say this feels a little bit more textured than those Sea of Shadows shadows do, but it does give me a similar impression. I love this. Yeah, I'd say warm brown base, cool teal shimmer throughout, and that like coral orange red shimmer in the flip. Kind of bronzy too. This reminds me of a shade that I'm anticipating getting, which is a Vault from Clionadh. It was in their stocking stuffer duo, and that just recently started shipping. So when I get that, I'll do a video with some comparisons, and I'll definitely compare this in that, but I don't have it to compare today. But either way, like when it comes to shades that I love, I'm like, the more the merrier. I already feel like this is going to be like a standout. Like this is going to be the most unique shade in this palette for my collection, and I feel like I'm gonna wear this a lot. Okay, we're already on to the final shimmer to eye swatch. I love when there's only a couple to eye swatch. This one is called Frostbane. It's described as the radiant unicorn of Phantasia, boasts a mesmerizing shimmery coat that emanates an iridescent pink glow, gracefully transitioning to a mesmerizing shade of blue. I know Deandra was using this as an inner corner shade. I'm curious how it's going to work for that. And it does look very like shimmery and glowy to my eye. So yeah, I'm going to pop this over both eyes. For all the other swatches, I didn't have any kind of base on. I did just put a primer on for this because I'm going to leave it on, but I generally don't feel like the primer makes the shadow perform better. I just think it helps it last, and I want to wear it for today. And this has a very similar formula. I'd say all of the shadows in this palette have a very similar formula, which is a formula that I get on with very well. And ooh, this is glowy. I love that it's not quite like a true iridescent. I always have a problem with white bases. I mean, there's a couple white base shadows that I do like, but for the most part, I find they give me a white cast. And I feel like if they give me a white cast on my like fair to light skin, they must give a white cast to like most people. But this shadow just, it doesn't feel like it has a white base. It feels like it has, yeah, you see how that base like disappears? I think it has more of like a lavender base. I definitely concentrated the swatch on the center just because I know I want to kind of work mattes around it. I hope that's okay. But it does look really pretty. Just looking at it straight on, I can see some of that pink. The shimmer does kind of look like bluish. That is a pretty shadow. I'm just gonna go right into kind of trying to construct a look around this. I turned around to grab my brushes, and this shadow's like glowing hot pink in the other light. Okay, so I am going to focus on the other colors in the palette, but this palette doesn't really have a shade that I think I can use as a transition. It's possible I could work with this one. I'm sure I could also do the lavender, but I just tend to prefer something a little more subtle in my crease to start a look out with. So I'm just going to take my blush first and do this in my crease. It's just this like light pink blush from ColourPop, just because I know this will make me like the look more. And I think it's subtle enough that it's not going to be like taking away from the palette being center stage. And I think I'm just going to build a couple mattes around it, and then we'll come back and give like another little pat of this shadow on the center just to make sure we don't lose any of the vibrance of it. So the one thing I have noticed about this palette that I don't want to say it's like a complaint or a critique, but I do tend to avoid mixing warm purples with cool purples. And from what I can tell, this is more of a cool purple, this lavender's more of a cool purple, and this one is definitely like a warm purple. So I don't think I would necessarily use this as an inner corner with this shade, but maybe I will try, like since this is center stage, like I'll try it the opposite way, like I'll try this being most of it and accenting with that and seeing how it goes. But because this one's cool and this one's cool, I definitely want to use this matte. So I dipped my brush in. We definitely do have quite a bit of kick up If you've used Devinah mattes before, I find that they generally do always have quite a bit of kick up because they're very pigmented shadows. But because of the kick up, I often don't use them where I'm going to have to blend a lot, and I just try to like pat down where I want it. Because I still do have a bunch of Devinah mattes that I really love because they have really unique colors. Okay, this one is definitely... Ooh, see, I blended a little bit by accident. I have some fallout. This one's definitely a little bit more pastel than I thought it might be. I was trying to stamp it down. But yeah, we'll deepen it up with another one of the mattes. I'm going to kick off some of the kick up for this one and try to go in the inner part. I've really been enjoying Halo Eyes recently. This matte purple is a little bit more on the warm side, but it's my next step up in terms of depth, so I'm going to see if I could deepen up this with this. I have a smaller brush to try this out with. I'm a little bit nervous. This one seems to give me a little bit less kick up, but I also am using a smaller brush. This is looking very messy. I'm gonna try to blend it with this clean brush. Okay, I am struggling a little bit. Yeah, I feel like that just blended away. It ended up leaving kind of a nice gradient on my crease, but yeah, the outer part of it really blended away there. Alright, new plan. I think I'm going to go in with the shimmer over there, even though the shimmer is warm toned, and as I was just saying, I don't tend to mix them, but I really want this look to work out, and these mattes aren't really doing it for me. So I'm just gonna pull this one with my finger and plop it out there. Yeah, that's the pigment that I want. Okay, and then since I'm here, I'm just going to use my other finger and add Frostbane back onto the lid. And I still do have that matte on my inner corner, and I'm just going to try to go over that a little bit too. Okay, that does look pretty. I kind of went over over the other one too, but I feel like you still get a little bit of the depth from layering them. And maybe that's the solution to my warm and cool problem, that I covered the warm with the cool, so we kind of just get the depth of that, and it makes it a little bit more of like a neutral purple on the outer part. I'm going to try to do what I did over here, even though it involved like messing up and then fixing it. Okay, both eyes are intact. I'm going to do my base and all that, and we'll come back for the lower lash line and the inner corner. Okay, my base makeup is on, and we are ready for the lower lash line. I do have a little bit of staining. I was wearing the Kaleidos Escape Pod palette yesterday, and I had that hot pink right there, and you can tell. But I don't think that'll get in the way of any of this. This color in the palette is way more brown than I thought it might be from the swatches online. I thought that like this one and this one would look more similar than they do. I want to use this. I want to make sure I'm packing on my lower lash line, and I don't know if I want my lower lash line that harsh. But I definitely don't want it this orange, and I'm a little scared of this shadow, and I think this is too light. So I think we will go for this, and maybe I'll try to like get a little shimmer on top or something. We'll see. Okay, it's on the pencil brush. Yeah, we have fallout even just from a little tapping. Okay, yeah, normally I wouldn't just go in with the one dark color. I would have a lighter color underneath to have them like kind of blend into each other, but I was scared to blend this time, and I think it does look a little rough, but I'll definitely sweep off the fallout with my powder brush, and maybe that will kind of ease the line a little bit too. Because since I'm like bouncing it on, I'm not necessarily keeping it in the straightest line. And I'm scared to glide. I didn't really have fallout on this side, but my placement looks worse. Let's see with the swoosh. I didn't add any powder to this. I'm just sweeping it with it. And that took care of most of the fallout. I probably will pick up my powder on like a smaller brush to put it over those little dots. That's not really helping with the line either, huh? Or you know what I'll do? Here's what I'll do. I want to put Frostbane on my inner corner. So let's do that, and then we'll kind of sweep it underneath and go over this matte a little bit with the shimmer. And then we'll see if we have the same problem of the matte abandoning us with a shimmer being put on top and not just like another matte being put on top. Because there are some mattes that don't blend into other mattes that well. Okay, I do like this as an inner corner shadow. That's my first impression. You might know I love the Velvet Phantom orbs from Devinah. Like, Soleil's is one of my favorite shadows of all time, a really pretty glowy inner corner pink. They also have Verdant Frost and Water Mist that I use less than Soleil's, but I still use those a lot for my inner corner. And I've said I want a lavender. This isn't the same formula because those are a smoother formula than this, but I do feel like this is a similar effect. Like, the base melds well with my skin, and it's a little bit more interesting than just like a solid color. Okay, so I am going over a little bit now. And this seems to be layering on top of it all right. Yeah, and it kind of creates the effect of like a darker purple too, which is cool, and it's something that I hadn't thought of, that like, if this would apply nicely to my outer V, then layering Frostbane over it will make it like a deep, more cool toned purple. Even looks kind of bluish over it. Okay, pretty. I want to add a little something else just to have a little bit of fun. I'm thinking about taking this first one on my pencil brush and kind of adding it to the top, and maybe also to the outer part here. Let's see how that goes. It definitely looks a lot more pink, but I've really been enjoying this placement recently. Yeah, somehow that just makes it look like neater to me. And let's do a little down here. Okay, cute. All right, I think that's where I'm gonna leave it for the eyeshadow. So I'm going to finish up my look, do the eyeliner, mascara, that boring stuff, and we'll be right back. We'll talk some more thoughts about the palette, go over some comparisons. Yeah, I'll be right back. Here is my finished look. I really like how it came together, and like as I'm looking at it in different lights, it just kind of like comes alive, it glows. I really like it, and I'm really excited to use these shadows more. Now, as I said, I do really like this look, but I have a couple mixed overall feelings about this palette. So first of all, I bought this for the shimmers. I love shimmers. I know from experience that I love Devinah's formula, and at the Black Friday price especially, it was worth it to me to buy these shimmers, and they both met and exceeded my expectations. All of them are like gorgeous, shiny, easy to work with, exactly what I want in a Devinah shadow. I have here. And because I already own so many of Devinah's existing shadows, I'm always excited when they release something new and I can add to my Devinah collection. As you saw, I did struggle with the mattes a little bit, but I didn't buy this palette for the mattes, and I wanted to use the mattes in this video because this is a video about this palette, but I know realistically when I buy a palette like this, chances are I'm not going to be using the mattes that much. I have a couple mattes that I really like in my collection, but I'm not that adventurous with my mattes. If a shadow works for me for a transition color or something, I'll tend to use that every day, and the shimmers are what I swap out more regularly. So because I didn't buy this with the expectation of using all 9 of these shadows, I'm not that disappointed by the revelation that I struggled with some of the mattes. I do know there's other people out there that have more positive experience with their mattes than I do. As I said, the ones that I have, I like them for the colors and I'll kind of use them sparingly, but these aren't necessarily the colors that I would have picked, and I don't usually feel like Devinah's mattes are the easiest to work with, but other people do use them more, so there might be other ways to use them that do work for people that I just don't do, so they don't work for me as well, you know? Now, with that said, it brings me to my next point, which is I feel that the regular price for this is a little bit expensive for what you get. The Black Friday price that I paid was about $46, but the regular price is $76. And if you, like me, are buying it for the shimmers, then $76 for 5 shimmers is on the pricey end. Now, Devinah never said which formula the shimmers belong to. And the thing with Devinah shimmers also is that, like, a lot of them are so good, and sometimes the $8 shadows, like, they don't feel like $8 shadows because they're so nice. So for that reason, I could imagine these all being $8 shadows. I also think it's possible that these 3 down the middle are multi-chromes because I did see like flips in them when I was looking in different light, but I can't say for sure. So I don't want to assume you're getting $18 shadows in here since I can't tell and their $8 shimmers are really good. If I can't tell if it's a multi-chrome, does it matter if it's a multi-chrome? But I do believe that I will be able to tell what's a multi-chrome or not. I just haven't had enough time and experience with these shadows yet to tell. The multi-chromes are the ones that I'll be wearing in public and I'll look in like an odd lighting bathroom and see a color I never expected to see on my eyes. And that's cool. But I do think I just need to wear this palette more to be able to have a better understanding of what the value of this palette would be comparable to the shadows they already have in their lineup. Also, on top of this, I don't know if this is coupon eligible or not, so I'm just gonna roll with the $76 price point. For 5 shimmers, that would make each of these shimmers $15.20, which isn't the worst. If I lost this, would I repurchase it for that price? Probably, but I'm a little reckless with my money. I guess all that to say, I don't think it's the most bargain-friendly value that you can get from Devinah. I would say, if you have a long Devinah wish list, you have a lot of shadows that you want to get that maybe you're slowly getting, maybe you've never made a purchase from them, I would say buy from your wish list. Because especially if your wish list has $8 shadows in it, you'll get a better deal than you get from this palette. But considering the fact that I'm someone that has pretty much everything that I want from Devinah. I have a lot of Devinah shadows. I know I love them. I know like they have consistently good quality and formulas. I'm okay paying a higher price tag to get these new shadows. But as I see it, with the information I have, this very well might be a worse value than just buying the shades that you've already been eyeing. So I would say like buy those, you know? But overall, I'd say just like run some calculations. Like it's a different story for you if you're like, no, I would purchase all of those mattes. So then it's like $76 minus $24 because each of the mattes retail for $6. So then it's $52 over 5 shadows and then they're each $10.40. And then you could think, is it worth $10.40 for each of these shimmers?
Or if you're like, I would buy 2 of those mattes, then we could subtract out $12, and then you're like, 2 of the mattes I wouldn't purchase, so the rest of the money is split over the 5 shimmers. Or maybe there's 4 shimmers you like, so the rest of the money is split over 4 shimmers, and then it's like $16 a shimmer.
I just think that this palette kind of gives you more to think about in that way, because it's not really like priced the same way that a lot of palettes are. It's really priced as like a bundle of shadows. So then it's kind of tough because it's like if you're not interested in all the shadows, too bad, you're still paying actual real money for the rest of them and you don't have the option to opt into some and opt out of others. So clearly that's the more complicated question out of this. I feel like me saying all of that just made it kind of like more confusing. But I guess to sum up my point, I think the performance of the shimmers is wonderful. If we're only talking about performance of the shimmers, fantastic. But if we're talking about performance of the shimmers relative to the price that you have to pay for the entire bundle, I think there's more to think about how much use you'd get out of it, what you actually want out of this palette, and if it's worth it for you. Let's switch gears and swatch this palette out. And here's the swatches of the full palette. Now onto comparisons. Here's the 4 matte shades of the palette. Next to Devinah Suki, Devinah Virago, Devinah Meraki. Suki isn't a dupe, but it would fit right in with the color story. Devinah Stormrider, Devinah Nocturne Ash, Cleona Noble, Shine by SD Mountain Magic, Shine by SD Flirtatious. The wild thing about all of these is they look so warm in the camera, but to my eye, they all look very cool, and they each look unique in the camera and on my arm. I would say Devinah Stormrider is the lightest and the most purpley of the bunch. Devinah Firegaze, Devinah Electra, Devinah Luna Storm, Devinah Sweet Slush, Terra Moon's Venus, Luxie Bahama Mama. I would say the new Devinah shade reminds me most of a lighter Bahama Mama. These are also very shifty shadows. Bahama Mama shifts like a copper orange, and the Devinah shade seems like a lighter version of that. It kind of shifts like a light orangey gold. Devinah Starborn, Devinah Half Sea Fog, Terra Moon's Oppie, Terra Moon's Big Dipper, Cleona Emblem, Cleona Mural. Starborn reminds me most of Half Sea Fog, but it doesn't have that green base. Half Sea Fog also has a much more smooth formula and it's less sparkly. It reminds me second most of Cleona Emblem, but Emblem has much more of a pink presence. Starborn is more of this mint with pink sparkle. Devinah Ember Rain, Devinah Mystic Moon Pie, Cleona Carving, Cleona Grisaille, Luxie Rosé, Luxie Sugar and Spice. I would say Ember Rain is closest to Luxie Rosé, but just amped up a bit. It also has more of that cool sparkle that makes it so interesting. All of these have warm bases, with Grisaille being the warmest. And I would say Ember is actually the third from least warmest, with the two Luxie ones coming behind it just because they have a weaker base. This arm of swatches, though, is wow. I don't say this lightly, but this is everything. Devinah Frostbane, Devinah Sprinkle Whips, Devinah Kazookles, Terra Moon's Lunar Lavender, Luxie Ube. I wasn't expecting Frostbane to look so close to the other Devinah shades on camera, but I think that slight difference in depth is the difference between me being able to wear it on my inner corner and not. I'm confident these two would look too intense for my inner corner, but Frostbane seems perfect. Lunar Lavender is much darker, and Ube is like doing its own little teal thing over here. But that's going to be everything for today. I hope this was fun to watch. I hope this was informative if you were looking for information about this palette. If you enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. It really means a lot to me, and there's always way more makeup content on the way. Especially this month, I'm going to be hopefully posting every day. So stick around if you like if you like a lot of videos. That's going to be everything for now. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.